Who's in, who's out, and what's next? Hi, I'm Aaron Muller, and this is episode 24 of the Cobsmacked Podcast. This is a Nebraska football podcast where we cover the Husker season and team news as it progresses throughout the year. If you enjoy the content, please consider leaving a like and following wherever you're listening. But during the offseason, since there is no games, obviously, I'll be covering relevant topics to Husker football, like notable transfers and recruiting. When the coaching hires do get announced, hopefully soon, we'll cover the info on the coaches and kind of their backgrounds. And then more just talking head conversations will be mixed in throughout the episodes as well about college football in general. I feel like some conversations are important to be had. But the notable news this week coming in is that Martinez enters the transfer portal. So why does that make sense, and why is that a win-win for kind of everybody involved? It gives Adrian the opportunity to go play with a more established team, possibly. It gives him the chance to possibly make a bowl game for the first time in his career, just to kind of shake things up. Something obviously wasn't helping him succeed here. He's still the career-leading total yardage leader in Nebraska, but I want him to go somewhere and succeed where he didn't succeed here. That also takes the hard decision out of Scott Frost's hands regarding who's going to be the starting quarterback next year. So we've seen Scott Frost's loyalty both to the players and to his coaching staff kind of get in the way of the better decision making. So there's been moments in Adrian's career where he has struggled during games where he's turned the ball over in crucial situations, and you should have brought the backup in. But Scott couldn't do that to his guy. Same thing happened with the coaching staff. I think some of the coaching staff should have probably got let go last year, but it just didn't happen. So it completely takes that out of Scott Frost's hands. He doesn't have to make that hard decision. Adrian kind of did it for him. I kind of wonder if that played into it as well. I wonder if Adrian kind of knew that Frost needed a fresh start next year, and so that kind of played into it. I think that there is a good bond between those two, obviously. And so I wonder if that played into it at all. The third side of things that people don't probably consider is that the recruiting as well. So if Adrian had opted to stay, I think that new guys coming in, if they were high-ranked recruits, or if they could have started next year, they come in here and they see that Adrian's still here. He's the all-time yardage leader in Nebraska, and he is Scott Frost, bud is his boy. You're not going to take him out. So that might influence some guys coming in here. If they know that they're not going to probably get the starting job next year, they might not come at all. So with Adrian leaving, that opens up the quarterback position quite a bit. So there could be guys coming in, and it's going to be open competition for the most part. I think that's good for everybody involved. But Adrian's kind of been an enigma at Nebraska. So Nick Bahi made the comment on his podcast that Adrian Martinez is the most polarizing player in Husker history, and I think that that's mostly accurate. I think that during his freshman season, when he kind of came in and lit the world on fire, he lit the Big Ten on fire as far as his athleticism and his ability to make big plays go. I don't know how many people complained about Adrian his freshman year, but kind of as his career has progressed, he's accumulated more and more opposition and haters in that time, and a lot of that's probably acceptable because his biggest criticism is that he's a turnover machine and he's not very clutch, which is fair. I mean, you look back at his stats and at his season and at his games, those things can be true, but why are they true? You can't just say that that's all on Adrian. You have to look around him and see what around him led to those points. I do think he's a victim of circumstance. How much differently would his career have gone had we had better protection, had we had better skill guys around him? We've seen how talented and athletic he is. If he had kind of people match him around the field, we could have been so much better. He could have been so much better. I thought arguably his best season was his freshman season. They went 4-8. On the offensive line, you had Brendan Hymas, Gerald Foster, Tanner Farmer, Bo Wilson, and Matt Farniok. Wide receivers, you had Stanley Morgan Jr. and J.D. Spielman. Those two dudes were studs. As running back that year, you had Divine Ozigbo and Maurice Washington. Those two dudes were studs. So out of all of those names, you have 5 guys that are still on NFL rosters. So you had talent around him that year, and it showed in the stats as well. So you had the top 3 wide receivers that year combined for over 2,000 receiving yards and 16 touchdowns. Top 3 running backs that year had 1,700 yards and 15 touchdowns. Special teams had 600 return yards. So I think that's important as well. We talk about hidden yardage a lot in the recap episodes about how we didn't return the ball or how the other team returned the ball, and that's just hidden yardage. And that year you had 600 return yards. That adds up over a season. Adrian that year, he had 3,400 total yards, 25 touchdowns. The team as a whole had 45 touchdowns. So he accounted for over half the team's touchdowns, whether he was throwing it or whether he was running it. And that's with 5 NFL level guys on the team on offense. Now compare that to this last season where we went 3-9. These kind of things kind of surprised me as well. So I was going into pulling these stats out thinking that it was going to be a drastic difference as far as Adrian's production, given, I mean, look at the field right now. You have 2, maybe 3 NFL level talent on the field right now that could get drafted if you would take the guys on the field right now. 2 or 3 guys that are going to go to the NFL. His stats this year weren't drastic at all. We'll get into it. The top 3 wide receivers this year accounted for 1,500 total yards and 7 touchdowns. Top 3 running backs had almost 1,000 yards with 7 touchdowns. That right there, the running backs, that's almost half of what they accounted for in 2018. So you didn't have a guy that you could hand the ball off to. You didn't have a Divino Zigbo who could just, run through the middle. You didn't have a Maurice Washington that was explosive on the outside. You didn't have those guys to help you in the run game. You didn't have a Stanley Morgan Jr. or J.D. Spielman to throw to. You did have Austin Allen, which was a big guy over the middle, and you did have Samori Toure, who was kind of your big chunk player, but you didn't have a consistent guy. Stanley Morgan was consistent that year. He was our first 1,000-yard receiver in Nebraska history, and he's been the only one. We haven't had another one since then. J.D. Spielman was close that year. He had like 750 total yards that year, and he could have went for 1,000 had he stuck around. I truly believe that. But this year, we didn't have that kind of talent around him. We didn't have an offensive line that was giving him opportunities to get the ball to other players, regardless of their skill level. But Adrian didn't have a drop-off. This year, he had 3,400 yards as well. He had 27 touchdowns, so he had 2 more touchdowns with the same exact yardage. And the team had the same exact total team touchdowns. They had 45 touchdowns. So Adrian's stats are almost identical with less talent. That surprised me. I was pulling these stats out thinking it was going to be a big difference, and I was going to say, see, look at the talent level around him dropped off, so did his production. His production stayed the same. He was able to do more with less. He was able to do the same with less. Imagine had we been able to raise the talent around him as his career progressed, what would our offense look like? That is something that's probably going to haunt me for a while until we can hopefully get things turned around and I don't have to think about the past so much, but had he had an offensive line, had he had a running back to hand off to this year, we would not be 3-9, almost guaranteed. But regardless of how you feel about him, regardless of if you feel like this is all on him, that he shouldn't turn the ball over, we wouldn't lose games, how much of that are you going to blame on he doesn't have time to throw the ball? How much are you going to put on that he took the offense this year and put it on his back? He accounted for a ton of yards this year when the team wasn't able to help him. That's why you've seen him so beat up. I mean, he got beat up in his whole career. He was carrying the ball over 100 attempts every year, and that's not consistently sustainable in the Big Ten. So regardless of how you feel about him, and if you want to put all the blame on him or you want to put the blame on the team as a whole, which I think that's only fair to look at the team as a whole and see why things broke down. He does leave big shoes to fill with his leaving. So he is the career leading total yardage. As I mentioned, he has 10,792 total yards. He has 670 completions on his career, which is also a record. He has the record for the most games with 250 plus passing yards. He has 16 of those. And he also holds the record for the season completion rate at 71.5%. His 2018 freshman season, he had 300 total offense yards. And that is a record as well. So he has a ton of records. He's going to be in the record books for a long time at Nebraska. But outside of that, even outside of football, Adrian Martinez is a great human being. He's, as he talks, he's very mature when he talks. Since the moment he came in, his freshman year, he was kind of cocky, confident. People didn't like that, but he's confident. He trusts in the team. He trusts in his ability, whether or not that shows on the field. But he does great things around the community as well. You've seen him out. He took pictures with people all the time. He would do signatures. He wasn't like some stuck-up guy. Look at Spencer Rattler. I heard stories of him charging 10-year-old kids money to sign a football. Adrian wasn't like that. That's just not the guy. He was a great representative for the state and for the program, and I'm gladly going to watch him next year wherever he goes. It looks like he's more than likely headed to Kansas State if they will take him. His girlfriend plays soccer there. He kind of fits their scheme, and their starting quarterback is leaving, so it gives him an opportunity to start his last season. So it would give him a good chance to start and go bowling as long as his injury, kind of holds up. We don't know how that shoulder is going to act after his recovery. Next topic is Mickey Joseph was hired as the wide receiver coach and I believe also the assistant head coach. So he was the quarterback for the Huskers from 88 to 91. He wasn't the starter that whole time, but he did play for the Huskers at quarterback for 4 years. But he has lots of coaching experience after that. So he has a variety of college coaching experience since 2008. Most notably, his recent stint with LSU resulted in a national championship in 2019. It was an incredible 2019 squad all around with Joe Burrows and then the wide receiving core that they had, arguably the best wide receiving core in football history. But, I mean, the level of experience he had there, he was also the assistant coach by the time he left there as well. But that 2019 season, just specifically. So LSU's 3 starters that year, he had Jamari Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Terrace Marshall. They combined for 241 receptions, almost 4,000 yards, and 51 touchdowns. I just told you our top 3 wide receivers all of our years. So you could almost put all 4 of our years together, and it doesn't equal that 1 year that they had, especially the touchdowns. 51 touchdowns from your top 3 wide receivers is absolutely ridiculous. But he's able to bring these guys in. Obviously, LSU's offense is a little bit different. They kind of aired the ball out all the time. But 24/7 Sports has him as the 5th highest recruiter in 2021. That's overall. He was vital to LSU's success, and I believe he will be vital to the Huskers' success going forward. He has the most credibility to the pitch that I can get you into the NFL because he has guys that he has gotten into the NFL. All those guys I mentioned went first round. All 3 of those wide receivers went first or second round. I'm not sure. I know one of them went first overall. So he has the credibility. When he says that, players are going to believe that. Coming out of high school, you see a guy that's able to get a bunch of guys in the NFL. You're going to see that. Since 2018, he has had 4 wide receivers go in the first 2 rounds. Looking at the Huskers have had 4 total players go to the NFL in the first 2 rounds since 2012. So in 9 years, we as a team can't do what he did in 3 years as a wide receiver coach. So being from Louisiana, he also recruits that area well. I believe Colin Cowherd on his podcast or radio show, I'm not sure what that is, but he made the comment that more NFL talent comes out of Louisiana than any other state, which kind of surprised me. But it is, I mean, if you look at, I thought it would be Alabama or Florida or Texas, but I mean, Louisiana, you look at the rosters, there's a lot of dudes from Louisiana, so that can make sense. But that might change now that he's coming to Nebraska. A lot of those Louisiana kids went to LSU because it's in state, but I'm sure he's still going to be able to recruit that base down there, that rich skill level base. So there's not a ton of like offensive linemen and stuff down there, but for skill positions, there's a ton of talent in the South. So he's not only able to recruit as well, he's able to develop. So prime example, Justin Jefferson, as I mentioned, was a 3-star that came in his first season in 2017 as Mickey Joseph's first year as the wide receiver coach. Justin Jefferson recorded 6 games with no stats. He didn't catch a ball. He didn't make any yards, nothing like that. His next season, his sophomore season, he had 54 receptions, 875 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That's already on par with a senior on the Huskers right now. By his junior season, he had 111 receptions with 1,500 total yards and 18 touchdowns. If he can take a 3-star and turn him into a, rookie of the year in the NFL, that's incredible. He went to the NFL. Justin Jefferson, his senior season, he opted out, went to the NFL, and he became rookie of the year. He set records for the most receptions, I believe, and the most reception yards. So he's able to take talent that is not, highly recruited. Alabama didn't want him, 3-star guy, and he turned him into an all-star. So if he's able to do that at Nebraska with the kids in state, there's a ton of kids in state that look at Xavier Betts. If he can take Xavier Betts and turn him into an all-star, which I truly believe Xavier Betts is capable of, you have a ton of talent there. So the big complaint this season was that you had Allen and Toure on offense, which is basically your only 2 consistent targets. There's a lot of potential around the field, and you just didn't see production from them. You had, Xavier Betts, you had Omar Manning, you had Alante Brown, which I don't remember even seeing him as a wide receiver at all this year. So you have talented guys that are quick and are able to be better, like potentially be great wide receivers, and they weren't able to get consistent separation. They weren't able to get open. They weren't able to make plays. With Joseph coming in, that could drastically change. Betts, Manning could potentially be 1,000-yard wide receivers by the time they leave the program. I think that's completely reasonable. I think it was a great hire. I'm kind of concerned that we haven't heard more about who the offensive coordinator is going to be, who the quarterback's coach is going to be, who our offensive line's coach is going to be. I hope we hit the nail on the head with the offensive line hire. I truly hope we get some all-star there as well. But it sounds like Mickey Joseph is going to be a great hire for Nebraska. Flipping over to the who we're losing part of the thing. So opting for the draft or going to the NFL, and then you also have transfers thrown in here as well. So on offensive side of things, you have Samori Toure going to NFL, Levi Falks opting for the NFL draft, Matt Sichterman's going to try for the NFL, and Austin Allen as well. For transfers, you have Adrian Martinez, obviously, is in the transfer portal. You have Marvin Scott, the freshman running back, is in the portal, and Savion Morrison is also in the portal. So you lose 2 running backs there and your all-star quarterback that you had. On defense, you're losing a ton of production on defense. So you have Deontay Williams is leaving, Marquel Dismuke is leaving, Jojo Doman's leaving, Ben Stilley's gone, Cam Taylor-Britt's gone. Damian Daniels just recently announced that he's going to the NFL as well. You have DeAndre Thomas. He kind of indicated that he's probably going to the NFL, but he hasn't officially confirmed that yet. I've also heard reports that Cam Jorgens is strongly considering going to the NFL as well. I think on Cam Jorgens, so we'll start with Cam Jorgens. I think that him being the best offensive lineman that we have currently, and the way that the season played out and the way that his career has kind of gone, I don't think right now is the best time for him to go. I think he could make a roster. I do think he could. I don't think he'd be early. I don't think he'd be making a ton of money. I mean, worrying about your body not taking another season like this, and just trying to get ready for the NFL and make your money. I mean, that's completely, that's reasonable. I'm not going to tell any person don't go get your money, but if he comes back next year, our schedule lines up for a much better season. Hopefully you get offensive line help around him that's able to help raise his draft stock. You're going to go into next season, coming out of next season, you're going to have a higher draft stock, more than likely, make more money, and probably make a better roster as well. So I think on his point, that kind of surprised me that he was considering leaving, but it makes sense. But at the same time, I do think it makes more sense to stick around and try to develop a little bit more as a center. On defense, we're losing a ton of guys that got snaps this year. You're losing a ton of guys that got awards this year as well. A lot of guys made the Senior Bowl. Deontay Williams is going to be a big guy. He was kind of the nuke that we had. He hit guys hard. Damian Daniels, he's going to be kind of the linchpin that I'm worried that we're not going to be able to replace with somebody up to his talent. I hope we can. He was just a big guy. He was the bowling ball that shoved through the middle of the offensive line and was able to disrupt the offensive line and the quarterback and allow the other guys around him. He didn't specifically have a ton of stats as far as sacks and things go, but he was so disruptive that he allowed the guys around him to eat. So Cam Taylor-Britt's obviously going to be missed. I mean, all those guys on the defensive side are going to be missed, and hopefully we can get some guys to replace them or at least, fill in their shoes a little bit. But the bigger strides need to happen on offense next year. So this year you got so close on offense in so many games to win, and you just weren't able to get there. So hopefully we get the offensive line situation figured out, but you're still going to lose your top 2 or 3, top 2 for sure, receiving targets. You're losing one of your offensive linemen. You're losing your quarterback. You're losing 2 running backs. So you're losing a ton of guys on the offensive side of things. But again, with the new offensive coordinator coming in, those guys might have ended up leaving anyway because it might not fit their scheme. It might not, be the guys that they need there. They've said that it's not going to be too big of a change as far as the new offense goes and whatnot. But we haven't heard anything, which is kind of surprising too. So that's another topic we can talk about, is that the offensive staff has not been named yet. And I don't know if that's because they're waiting for the bowl games to get done, played with. But with the early signing day in December coming up here, I'm surprised that they haven't announced who they are so that we can kind of try to recruit offensive linemen, recruit those skill positions a little bit better. As I mentioned, Mickey Joseph is a great hire, which he's going to be out there and he's going to help recruiting right now. But wouldn't it help a ton more if the players coming in knew who their offensive coordinator was going to be, knew what kind of offense we were going to run? It's kind of surprising. I'm recording this Monday morning and we still haven't heard anything. So, I mean, you've heard rumors, you've heard names thrown out there, but nothing solidified at all. And there's been head coaches hired all over the country. You had Mario Cristobal was just announced as Miami's head coach this morning or last night. Brent Venables is named Oklahoma's coach. You had LSU's coach got hired. Obviously, Lincoln Riley went to USC. I mean, there's been tons of movement, and we haven't heard, our coaching get. It's fine. We'll get there. I have trust that Scott Frost is going to make a good hire and that Trev Alberts will not let him mess it up. So anyways, we will be back here. I'll probably release these on Monday. So since there's no game or whatever, news kind of trickles out over the weekend. So I'll record these Sunday night, release them Monday morning as far as the off season goes, but there will only be one a week. We won't do 2 a week like we had been during the season. Anyways, if you guys have any topics you'd like me to cover, if you guys have anything as far as like I mentioned college football conversations in general, I do want to talk about like how the transfer portal is affecting things, how NIL is going to affect things, how COVID is affecting rosters even currently. There's lots of topics to talk about. But if you guys have any more topics you'd like to talk about, just let me know in the comments below, or you can find me on Twitter at Cobsmacked Pod. But until next time, go big.